When a man regrets it, it's already too late. She's no longer his. On my first birthday, I accidentally grabbed my childhood friend in a rather awkward spot. Both of our parents burst into laughter, teasing that I'd probably grow up to be the clingy one. But later on, it was the famously cool and distant Depvu who ended up being the one who couldn't let go of me. When we were 5, he refused to take a photo alone. With his chubby little hands, he tugged at the hem of my dress, insisting we had to be in the picture together. At 18, he stopped me on my way to school. His voice, rough from adolescence, said, "You're mine. You can't run away from me." At 23, just old enough to marry, he couldn't wait any longer. He proposed to me on the giant screen of a CBD building under a shower of falling rose petals. The diamond ring in his hand shimmered with the cool light as he slipped it onto my finger. His eyes were full of love. "For the rest of my life, I'm yours." Yet, at 25, he was set up by a rival during a business party, drugged, and found himself waking up beside a female college student. In anger, I demanded a divorce, but that very night, he took her abroad. Kneeling in the rain, he said to me, "I was wrong. Please, forgive me just this once." My heart softened and I forgave him. But later, at the hospital, I saw him accompanying that young woman to a prenatal appointment. His eyes were red as he explained. 2 weeks earlier, during a business trip abroad, he'd been in a car accident. She had risked her life to pull him out before the car exploded. Later, when he found out she was pregnant, his grandmother, in poor health and desperate to see a great-grandchild, pressured him to keep the baby. He swore that once she gave birth, he would send her away. "You'll never have to see them again for the rest of your life." I swallowed my pain and chose to believe him. Until later, at an auction, he competed with me for my mother's keepsake, a jade necklace, and even offered an outrageous price. Then, he gave that necklace to the same woman. When I confronted him, he calmly said, "She's been struggling with prenatal depression lately. Can't you just let her have it?" In that moment, I laughed until tears streamed down my face. And what if I refuse?
He spoke calmly, asking me to stay composed. She was about to give birth, and he said that once the baby arrived, everything would return to the way it had been. I looked at him, and in that moment, it felt as though something deep inside me had quietly broken. Returned to the way it was? Did he even remember what that meant? Then Mengqi Gao gasped, her face pale as she clutched her stomach and leaned weakly against the wall. She whispered that she had twisted her ankle, pain crossing her features. Tan Shandiep's expression changed instantly. Without hesitation, he stepped past me and lifted her carefully into his arms. I stumbled backward, hitting the corner of the table, a sharp pang shooting through my side as cold sweat ran down my back. He didn't look back. Holding her with care, he walked away, leaving me standing in silence, watching the outline of his figure slowly fade into the distance.
A life dead and now an unborn child. Tang Shandiep would never be free of her, not in this lifetime. In a daze, I got into the car. The driver looked at me through the rear-view mirror and asked softly if he should take me back to the villa. I told him to go to the lawyer's office instead. 2 hours later, I held the freshly printed divorce papers in my hand and headed straight for the hospital. From the end of the corridor, I watched as Tang Shandiep had cleared the entire floor for Mengqi Yao. Doctors and nurses were standing by, and he stayed at her side without leaving even for a moment. Every small change in her expression seemed to shake his world. She said she wanted tiramisu from a bakery in Changtan, and he promised to get it right away. The moment he stepped out of the room, I pushed open the door and walked inside. Meng Chi Yao's eyes turned red the instant she saw me.
I will pay back all that money. You should find another way out soon. Don't waste your time on me anymore. I'm not laughing. The sad voice came. I spoke up resentfully. You haven't criticized me for being poor yet. You want to chase me away? I didn't mean that. I know, you criticize me for spending too much money, saving money, right? What did I say when I laughed at you before? I said I would support you for life. Now I want to start and then quit. I'm really ungrateful. The ungrateful person could only put his hand over my mouth to stop my words that were as sharp as a gun. I just feel that now you have to suffer with me. The house is small and damp. Eating is not good. Even fruits can only be bought at discount. I am also afraid that you should have a better and happier life than now. Normally speaking, the sponsor is bankrupt. As a canary, I should pack up and leave. But after being together for 5 years, it is impossible to say that I have no feelings for you. At the end, Sang-shi still thought of me, leaving all the remaining money to me. So I cannot leave, nor do I want to leave. I grabbed his collar and pressed him down on the sofa. A little bit on the man's sexy, thin lips. He said he would take care of me for life. Not even a second or a minute is allowed. Ungrateful guy, you are clinging to me. The dense comments floated before my eyes again. This girl is so delicious. Quickly change me to watch. It must be said that the female supporting character and the male lead, the handsome man and the beautiful woman, are also a very good match. Don't think too much, sisters. The male lead belongs to the female lead. Being with the female sidekick won't have a good ending. And why hasn't my female lead eaten yet? Male lead, don't be fooled by this evil woman. The female lead is your period. The love story between the female lead and the male lead has been ruined. The next scene is the male lead delivering food being humiliated by the villain. The female lead will reappear there. Pretending not to see the comment, I pinched the ungrateful guy's hand and continued kissing him. The ungrateful guy's tense face turned red from his hand-on. He took the opportunity to catch his breath and quickly pushed me away, sniffling in fear. The stove is still cooking. Brother, come and see. To outsiders, he is a cold-faced man. To his wife, he turns into an innocent little girl. What kind of masterpiece is this? Actually, the male lead and this runaway lady are quite a good match. I'll also vote 1. Don't vote anymore, ladies. The female supporting character definitely cannot escape the script. Now you eat sugar, later you will have to eat knives. From the conversation of these gossips, I can be sure that this world is a novel, and I am the female supporting character and the contestant. Fate has been determined to be the catalyst for the love story of the male and female lead. How can I break this situation? Suddenly remembering the time the female lead appeared that the comet just mentioned, a plan quietly came to my mind. He worked hard delivering food from morning to night. The comet suddenly appeared. It was today. The villain knew that the male lead was delivering food. He deliberately ordered a cake on the female lead's birthday so that he could deliver it, then insulted him. My female lead is about to take action. The beauty saves the hero. I thought it was refreshing. The female lead appeared. This female supporting character and contestant are about to fall to the floor. Why do I feel a little sorry for the female supporting character? She definitely thought that the male lead loved her very much, But she didn't know that under the power of the script, all personal feelings would be erased. This day finally came. I hurriedly picked a battle bag that fit my hand, rushed straight to the biggest hotel in the city. As soon as I entered, I saw the unfaithful guy in his underwear uniform and was stopped by several youngsters. The leader was Trong Tap Thumb, the villain in the commentary. "Hey, unfaithful guy, that year you forced me to go abroad. I didn't expect the eagle to come so quickly. You're now as miserable as a dog on the side of the road." Laughter immediately erupted around. Having been bullied by the ungrateful man for years, Trong Top Thumb was so angry that he wanted to punish the fallen man. "Trong Tap Thumb, have you heard this funny story? The ungrateful man went bankrupt, but his canary still followed him. What a waste of heaven's gift! With just a few coins he earned from delivering goods, he could still support a woman." The laughter grew louder and louder, more and more deafening. Everyone saw that the ungrateful man remained silent. They continued to provoke him.
Just as I finished changing and was about to leave, Meng Yao appeared at the door, slightly breathless. She smiled faintly and said that she had never gone horseback riding before, that she wanted to come along too. She added that although she was expecting, staying home all the time wasn't good for the baby either. Her voice was soft, frail, carefully measured to sound innocent. I didn't want to hear another word. I turned away and walked straight toward the door. Behind me, I heard Teng Xindip let out a quiet sigh. He agreed, his voice gentle and tired, telling her that she could come, as long as she followed his arrangements. Just as I finished changing and was about to leave, Meng Yao appeared at the door, slightly breathless. She smiled faintly and said that she had never gone horseback riding before, that she wanted to come along too. She added that although she was expecting, staying home all the time wasn't good for the baby either. Her voice was soft, frail, carefully measured to sound innocent. I didn't want to hear another word. I turned away and walked straight toward the door. Behind me, I heard Teng Xindip let out a quiet sigh. He agreed, his voice gentle and tired, telling her that she could come, as long as she followed his arrangements. At the stables, I quietly approached the horses and chose a gentle mare, skillfully fastening the saddle and reins myself. The man who once taught me how to ride now had eyes only for another woman. Throughout the lesson, he held the reins for Men Chi Tiao, his gaze never leaving her, not even for a moment, until his phone rang. He checked the screen, his brows furrowing slightly. Men Chi Tiao immediately smiled, her tone filled with understanding. "Mr. Tan, go take care of your business. I've learned enough. I can manage on my own now." Still uneasy, he made sure she was seated properly before walking away to take the call. From the riding field below, my horse stood still, quietly watching the scene unfold. Men Chi Tiao turned to me, her voice light but edged with something sharp.
I refused. For the baby she's carrying, can't you endure a little? Once the child is born, it will all be over. Sweat poured down my body as I stared at Tan Xindiep's eyes, searching for even a flicker of guilt or concern. But in the eyes I had loved for 20 years, there was nothing but worry and urgency. "Mr. Tan, Chijiav's condition isn't stable," a nurse warned. "I'm asking you," he pressed. I was forced into the blood donation room. The moment the needle pierced my vein, the pain took my breath away. "Does it hurt?" "I've done it as gently as I could," the nurse said. I shook my head, but the tears wouldn't stop falling. Tan Shindiep waited outside the room, not sparing me a single glance. After 1,000 cc of blood had been drawn, darkness clouded my vision. The nurse helped me sit down to rest, while Tan Shindiep didn't even turn back. He ran straight to Meng Shijiao's hospital room.
Thanh Xiên Diệp vô xích beside the bed. Vô, you're awake? Are you hurt anywhere? I tried to speak, but my throat was dry and no sound came out. Ji Yao had been injured. She was suffering from a clotting disorder and the bleeding wouldn't stop. The blood bank didn't have enough supply and the only compatible donors was you, Vu. Could you give some blood to her? Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. He left me there, tremble like horses, without a single word of explanation. And the first thing he said to me afterward was to go save Meng Yao, even though I was covered in injuries.
I staggered forward, standing just outside the slightly open door. On the hospital bed, Meng Qigao looked pale and fragile. Dam Tim Diep held her hand tightly, his gaze soft, almost melting with tenderness. Don't be afraid. Everything's fine now. The baby is healthy too. My eyes fell on Meng Qigao's wrist, a familiar Buddhist bead bracelet. It was the same one I had prayed for at Mount Wutai 3 years ago. Back then, Dam Chim Diep had carefully placed it on my wrist, promising never to take it off. And now, it rested on another woman's wrist. He had given the bracelet, the very one I had worshipped and begged for, to Meng Qigao. My heart ached. I couldn't bear to look any longer and decisively turned to leave. The next morning, a nurse came to check the room. Madame Tan, please complete your medical records. She handed me a form. I filled it out mechanically. When I reached the marital status section, I paused for a moment, then firmly wrote 2 words, single. Madame Tan, did you make a mistake? You wrote single instead of married. Isn't Mr. Tan your husband? He is, but soon he won't be my husband anymore. Madam, what are you saying? The hospital room door suddenly swung open. Dam Tim Diep stood there, disbelief etched across his face. The nurse awkwardly clutched the medical chart and quickly slipped away. Only he and I remained, facing each other. Are you still angry about the blood donation? He seemed to have realized something and stepped closer, reaching out to touch my face.
I tilted my head away and his hand lingered in the air for a moment. He stared at me quietly, then finally glanced at his watch. Qi Jiao needs her medication. I'll come back to see you later. As the door closed behind him, I looked up at the ceiling and let out a sudden, bitter laugh. Tan Shen Deep was gone for 5 days. I returned home and began packing my things. By the 6th day, he unexpectedly returned. He held a gold-embossed invitation card, his eyes sparkling with the same youthful light I remembered. Today marks the 100th anniversary of our school. Some classmates wanted to get together. You've been at home all week. Why not step out, relax a little, and see old friends? Is that all right? On the day of the reunion, Tan Shen Deep held my hand tightly the entire time. Old classmates teased us, saying the school's top student and the beauty still made a perfect pair. Someone recalled that years ago, Tan Shen Deep had queued overnight just to buy me a limited edition album. He smiled and slipped his arm around my waist, a quiet, comforting gesture. Remember our time capsule? The letters we wrote 10 years ago? Now they're back with their original owners. Everyone took turns retrieving their letters. I was about to open mine when Tan Shen Deep suddenly stiffened.
His phone rang. It was Qi Jiao. He hesitated, glanced at me, and then stepped into the hallway to answer. A minute later, he returned, his face pale. Vu, she fell and is now in the hospital. I need to go. It's urgent. I'll be back soon. I watched him leave, then walked over to the time capsule. By chance, I found a letter from Tan Shen Deep. On the envelope, his handwriting read,
I looked at the envelope. To Tan Shen Deep, age 26. I hesitated for a moment, then opened it. Inside, it said, to me, Tan Shen Deep, age 26. By now, I've probably married Vu, haven't I? I'm a little jealous of myself of the life I dreamed of living. I must take good care of Vu, cherish her deeply. If I don't, I'll never be able to forgive myself. I have to warm her milk every day. Her stomach is sensitive. I should take her to Iceland to see the northern lights. She's talked about it for years. She dislikes the rain and can't use scented oils. And I must remember, she's afraid of the dark, so I should never let her be alone at night. At the end, there was a small note. Vu, if in 10 years he hasn't treated you right, walk away. Don't stay. I ran my fingers over the words and tears slowly fell. All right, I whispered. I'll listen to you.
After the reunion, I drove straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Today was the day the divorce agreement took effect. I could finally close this chapter of my life. Before leaving, I erased all my personal information and bought a one-way plane ticket. On the plane, looking out the window, memories of being 18 came rushing back. He had once blocked me on the way home from school and said, Vu, you're mine. You can't escape. Tan Shen Deep, you were wrong. This time I've escaped, and this time I'll never return. When Tan Shen Deep arrived at the hospital, Meng Qi Jiao was sitting on the bed, tears welling in her eyes. President Tan, I went to the mall to pick out a tie for you, but I accidentally fell. I'm sorry. If anything happens to the baby, it would be my fault, to both you and your grandmother. The baby is fine, very healthy. Don't worry. Tan Shen Deep gently stroked her protruding belly, his touch careful, soft, and full of tenderness.
Meng Qi Jiao tried to look pitiful. President Tan, I know, only by carrying your child can I stay by your side long enough for you to care about me. But honestly, I've always admired and supported you. That's why when I saw you on the street before, I didn't hesitate to help you, even when it wasn't safe for me. Tan Shen Deep, could you ever accept me? The more gentle and cautious she became, the more conflicted Tan Shen Deep felt. He took a step back, unable to speak harshly to her. After a pause, he said in a cold voice, When you give birth, I'll make sure you're provided for. I'll arrange everything so you can live comfortably overseas, without any worries. Tan Shen Deep, those things don't matter to me, he said softly. What if all I want is you? Please, don't make me leave you.
Tan Shen Deep exhaled sharply. For some reason, an image of me flashed in his mind. No, it can't be. He panicked, lowered his head, gently pushed her hand away, and turned toward the door. Qi Jiao, you know my heart belongs only to Vu, but my grandmother thinks highly of you. She even said that if you have a son, she'll give you an honorable place in the family. Meng Chi-jiao sat on the hospital bed, her face pale, tears falling uncontrollably. Xian Diep, do you really not feel anything for me? Chi-jiao, he replied quietly, no matter what my grandmother may have said, in my heart there's only Vu. Take care of yourself. He quickly closed the hospital room door and leaned against it, breathing heavily. What he didn't see, after he left, Meng Chi-jiao's eyes turned cold, filled with quiet disdain. Duong Tang Vu has already lost the Tan family's favor, and yet she still pretends to be so devoted. She took out her phone and made a call. Hello, is this Assistant Guo? This is Chi Jiao.
Could you tell me Go Tong's recent schedule? Money is no object. Just tell me. I have some business I need to discuss with him. After hanging up the phone, Meng Chi-jiao finally revealed a cold smile. Tuan Tanziep, if I had known you would reject me, I wouldn't have wasted my time on you. Fortunately, this child is not a Tan family heir. At the Thurnyan auction house, the big players in the business world were all gathered. At this moment, everyone was excitedly discussing the items soon to be auctioned. Tuan Tanziep walked in heavily, entering his private room only at the last moment before the auction began. Tuan Tanziep, why are you so late? Grandmother, the company had an urgent matter. Upon hearing this, the elderly lady's eyes were filled with concern. Tuan Tanziep, no matter what happens at the company, you can leave it to others. Right now, there's only one thing you need to focus on, Chi Jiao's childbirth. Look, later I will auction the Trin Meng Longfoot lock. Tell me, if it goes to my grandson or granddaughter, wouldn't that be lovely? Tuan Tanziep lowered his eyes to the catalog, a faint smile appearing on his lips. Then, as if recalling something, he spoke gently. Grandmother, you've worked hard. Chi Jiao will definitely like it. After successfully auctioning the Trin Meng lock, Tuan Tanziep was preparing to return to the company. He glanced at his wristwatch, sighing repeatedly. Once Chi Jiao has given birth, I have to spend more time with Vu. During this period, I've truly owed her too much. Vu sometimes doesn't understand. As he thought this, suddenly a pale yellow figure flashed past his eyes, entering a nearby private room. Tuan Tanziep held his breath and quietly approached the door. The woman seemed to be in too much of a hurry, leaving the door slightly ajar. The voices of a man and a woman inside drifted right into his ears. Mr. Go, this child is yours. Do you really don't want it? It was like a lightning bolt striking Tuan Tanziep. He couldn't believe his eyes. The woman was clearly Meng Chi-jiao, the one he had arranged to stay at the hospital for childbirth.
You're being unreasonable. I told you from the very beginning that I don't want this. From his tone, it was clear that Mr. Ko was a man approaching 60. No matter what, I cannot terminate this pregnancy. If I carry the child to term, you must provide financial support. Otherwise, I will make a scene in front of Mr. Ko. At the mention of his name, Mr. Ko's voice immediately dropped. How much are you asking for? 700 billion? You dare make such a demand? You're truly heartless. Haven't you already secured a place in the Tuan family? And now you come asking me for money. And yet this child is my own blood. Mr. Ko, at the banquet, you were upset with me. I had no choice but to trick Mr. Tuan. I wore a dress resembling his wife to deceive him.
At that moment, the bodyguard beside Madam pushed the door open. Meng Chi-jiao froze, panic overtaking her as she collapsed to the floor when she saw Tuan Tandiep and Mr. Tuan standing there. Mr. Ko immediately stepped forward, bowing respectfully. Madam, this matter does not concern me. She did spend a night with me and became pregnant. I had already provided financial compensation to settle it. Who could have expected she would refuse and deceive both sides, creating chaos for our families? He spoke carefully, portraying both the Ko and Tuan families as victims of Meng Chi Jiao. Mr. Tuan's face paled slightly, while Tuan Thundiep's expression darkened. If you tell the truth, the Tuan family will not pursue the matter, and future cooperation will proceed smoothly.
Mr. Ko's eyes lit up. This was a rare chance to work with the Tuan family. Even if it meant losing a bit of dignity, it was worth it. This young woman is a college student I met by chance at a club. I thought she was beautiful and decided to help her financially. Look at me, I'm already old. My children are grown and married. How could I possibly have another child? I already tried to settle things quietly, but I didn't expect her to stir up more trouble. It really is my child, not anyone from the Tuan family. She came to me for money 3 times. The second time, I told her to prove it. I even went with her for a medical test, and when it turned out to be true, I gave her what she asked for. The words hit like a thunderclap. Madame Tuan stood frozen, while Tuan Shindiep's cold, piercing eyes locked on Meng Chi Zhao, who was trembling. Seeing this, Meng Chi Zhao immediately clung to him, her voice shaking. Shindiep, it's not true. None of it is. That person made it all up to turn you against me. View is gone now. Wouldn't it be better for the 3 of us to be together?
Tuan Shendeep's eyes turned red with suppressed emotion. Finally, he couldn't hold it in any longer. Enough! Leave now! Mr. Ko quickly backed away, lowering his head. Meng Cheng Jiao's face went pale, then darkened, her tone turning sharp. Tuan Shendeep, what now? Zhuang Tenvu has already decided to leave you. Her words hit him hard. Seeing his expression, she gave a cold, bitter smile. You didn't expect that, did you? Zhuang Tenvu has been gone for a long time. She's not coming back. A flood of emotions surged in Tuan Shendeep's eyes. Shock, regret, and something deeper. Mr. Ko hurriedly stepped forward. Mr. Tuan, Madam Tuan, please don't worry. I'll take care of this matter properly. I'll make sure she never troubles the Tuan family again. But Tuan Shendeep's lips curved into a faint, cold smile. His dark eyes glimmered with restrained fury. There's no need, Mr. Ko. The Tuan family will handle this on our own. A black sports car sped down the quiet road. The man behind the wheel was silent, his face hidden in shadow, unreadable, yet filled with storming thoughts. Soon the car stopped in front of the mansion. The house was completely dark and silent. He pushed the door open and froze. There wasn't a single person inside. Vu really left. She's gone. She's not here anymore. Tuan Shendeep fell to his knees in disbelief. He searched every room, every corner. Not a single trace of her remained. Stumbling into the bedroom, he noticed a brown leather envelope on the bedside table. His eyes suddenly lit up. Vu, of course, you're still giving me a chance. Clinging to his last bit of hope, he tore the envelope open. But the moment he saw the gold-embossed letters, tears streamed down his face uncontrollably. A divorce certificate. His hands trembled. He grabbed his phone and dialed my number. I'm sorry. The number you have dialed is not in service. Please try again later. The robotic voice repeated over and over, but he refused to stop, calling again and again. Finally, he called his assistant. Find Madam's whereabouts for me, now. The assistant, startled awake, quickly replied, Yes, sir. I'll contact someone right away. After hanging up, a pale smile crossed Tuan Shen Deep's face. A cold light flickered in his eyes. Meng Chi Jiao, I won't forgive you for this. 10 months later, elsewhere, I arrived in a small town and opened a little cafe. It had been nearly half a month since I left Tan City. Here I met Lam Yam Triet. Thanks to his help, the cafe's business had started to grow. I had wanted a calm, simple life, yet now my days were filled from morning until night. Vu, you still haven't found a place to stay? He asked one evening. I shook my head with a sigh. The houses my family arranged don't really feel right for me. For now, I'll just stay at the cafe.
Vul, my house is actually quite big, Lam Nyam Chiet said softly. If you don't mind, you could stay there for a while. Nyam Chiet, I hesitated, ready to politely refuse, but then, for some reason, I changed my mind. All right. Really? He asked. His voice filled is a quiet kind of happiness. Really, I replied, giving a small smile, though a flicker of uncertainty lingered in my chest. Lam Nyam Chiet nodded, his eyes warm and sincere. Then I'll get your room ready tomorrow and make sure everything's comfortable. I turned to the window. The afternoon sunlight streamed through the trees, scattering golden light across the cafe floor. This new life felt different, freer, yet full of unknowns. Here, there was no shadow of Tan Shen Diep, no chains from the past, only me, and the choices I made for myself. A faint smile curved my lips. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of calm, a quiet kind of peace. Maybe, I thought, this really is the start of something new. Standing beside me, Lam Yam Chiet didn't say a word, but his presence alone was steady and reassuring, as if he was silently promising to stay by my side, no matter where life led.
The warm glow of sunset filled the room, washing away the last traces of worry and opening the door to a new chapter, one of freedom, hope, and rediscovery. Lam Yam Triet glanced at me with a soft smile, still looking a little surprised, but happy. "Let's close the cafe early today and go," he said gently. "Do you need time to move your things?" "No need, I've already packed," I replied. Then I paused for a second. Something about his tone made my heart skip. Why did it suddenly feel like he'd been expecting this all along? Meanwhile, at the Tan residence, Meng Shi Jiao knelt on the floor, her face flushed and streaked with tears. "How could you deceive me? How could you deceive the Tan family?" Tan Shen Diep stepped inside slowly, his footsteps heavy with restrained anger. "Shen Diep?" she asked in a trembling voice. "Has Tang Vu, has she forgiven you yet?" The man shook his head, his expression dark and unreadable. "What should we do now? Tang Vu must be deeply hurt." Madame Tan's patience finally broke. She struck Meng Qijiao across the face, sending her stumbling to the floor. "Someone take her away, right now." "Thon Diep, Vo, please, don't do this, it'll only make things worse." Thon Ton Diep lowered his gaze to her. The warmth that once filled his eyes had long disappeared. "Enough of the pretending. Just step aside, don't get in my way." A bodyguard gently led Meng Qijiao out of the room. Meanwhile, the assistant stepped forward, holding a small device. "Mr. Tan, we couldn't find any trace of Madam. She's erased all her personal information, everything." Tan Tan Diep frowned, his voice quiet and heavy. "If I were her, I'd go far away too. somewhere no one could ever find me. He paused, feeling the weight of his own words. After everything he had done to her, realizing she had truly gone, it felt as if something inside him had shattered. The pain cut deep, but his heart kept beating, heavy and hollow. "Sir," the assistant continued carefully, "we've completed the investigation. Everything you asked for is on this drive." He handed over a small, silver USB. Tontondiep's fingers trembled slightly as he plugged it into the computer. He forced himself to watch, even as old memories rose up like waves he couldn't escape. On the screen, moments replayed one after another. When Meng Qijiao had been in his arms, someone else had stood just beyond view, silently watching. At the horse track, his eyes had followed Meng Qijiao, completely unaware of the person who quietly stood by. When he stepped away to take a call, she had been mocked and cornered by Meng Qijiao. Even when someone fell onto the dirt under galloping hooves, he hadn't looked back once. He had only rushed to protect Meng Qijiao. Seeing it all now, seeing the girl who once held his heart suffer in silence, was unbearable. What have I done?" he whispered hoarsely. "Vu, how could I have hurt her like that?" His chest tightened, a hollow ache spreading through him. Then, suddenly, Meng Qijiao's desperate voice broke through the silence, echoing from the hallways of the Tan mansion. "Help me!" Her cry cut sharply through Tontondiep's thoughts, pulling him back to the present, a chilling reminder that the past could no longer be undone.
Her face was streaked with tears, yet she clung to him desperately, as if he were the only thing keeping her from falling apart. "You still love me, don't you? Please, forgive me. I promise I'll disappear. You'll never see me or Dong Thanwu again." Tan Than Diep let out a bitter laugh, anger and disbelief flashing in his eyes. "Love you? Meng Jiao, tell me, was Vu's divorce agreement something you tricked me into signing?" Meng Jiao's voice rose in panic. "Vu asked me to. She wanted me to help her get you to sign it. It wasn't my idea." Her body trembled violently, and she collapsed to the ground. For a moment, there was silence. Then, seeing this small stain on the floor, she began to laugh uncontrollably, the sound sharp and unsteady.
Meanwhile, I was walking through a supermarket with Lam Yam Triet. "Vu, what do you want to eat tonight?" he asked with an easy smile. I listed a few dishes, and he nodded to each one, a gentle warmth flickering in his eyes. We left the store hand in hand, the evening breeze brushing against us, shopping bags swinging between us. "I want to stop by the cafe to sort the coffee beans for tomorrow," I said lightly. "Would you like to come along, Mr. Artist?" Lam Yam Triet chuckled and brushed a light kiss against my forehead. Of course. The scene was peaceful, almost too peaceful, but from across the street, a pair of familiar eyes had found us. Tan Than Diep's steps quickened, his gaze dark and intense. Without warning, he pulled me into his arms, his voice rough with emotion. "Vu, you're mine, only mine." "Let her go," Lam Yam Triet shouted, stepping forward and pushing him back firmly, his expression fierce. The moment hung in the air, the clash between past and present, between a love once lost and a future just beginning. Only then did Tontondiep loosen his grip. I quickly stepped back, rushing into Lam Yam Triet's arms. Tontondiep wiped his face, his eyes red and strained. I covered my ears, unwilling to hear anything he had to say. "Vu, please, don't be like this. You're making it impossible for me. Just look at me once, please." "Let her go." Lam Yam Triet's voice cut sharply through the air. "Haven't you already hurt her enough? What right do you have to come after her again?" Tontondiep didn't answer. He only stared at me, his gaze full of pain and regret. Lam Yam Triet said nothing more.
He simply gathered me in his arms and led me to the car, leaving Tan Tan Deep standing motionless under the fading light. He watched us drive away, his chest heavy with realization. Only now did he understand the pain I must have felt that day, when he had carried Meng Qi Zhao away right before my eyes. If he had known then what he knew now, he would never have let that woman into the Tan family at all. The next morning, I opened the cafe right on time. The early sun filtered through the windows, painting the wooden floor in soft gold. At some point, Tan Tan Deep had already appeared behind me. "Vu, look at me," he said quietly. I went about my work, ignoring him completely, as if he wasn't even there. But he didn't leave. He followed me inside, watching silently as I prepared the machines and edited videos at the counter. For a moment, he froze. Familiar sights and sounds filled his mind, stirring memories he had long buried. He saw us, two teenagers under the starry night, sitting shoulder to shoulder. "Tandeep," I had once said softly, "from now on, I want to live a calm and free life." He had smiled then, his voice full of youthful certainty. "Tandeep, no matter what kind of life you want, I'll always be by your side." Back then, he still carried the warmth and innocence of his high school days. "Tandeep, I want you to know that if you wait for me to grow up and become the heir of the Tan family, with all its responsibilities and pressures, you'll have to marry a gentle wife, have children, and raise them to take your place." He had shaken his head firmly and held my hand tight. "That won't happen. I'll only marry you." The memory faded, leaving only silence between us. Tan Tan Deep stood there, realizing that the promise he had once made so easily was the very one he had broken.
The girl simply smiled, avoiding his gaze. Over time, she had grown to love him, reshaping her life because of him, and had become a gentle, gracious Mrs. Tan. The boy had long forgotten her original wishes, even the memories of that starry sky they had once shared. Tan Tan Diep's eyes welled with tears. "Tan Tan Diep, we're divorced. We have nothing to do with each other anymore," I said calmly, as if I truly no longer cared. "Vu, I'm sorry. I know everything now. Meng Qi Zhao's child isn't ours. All the false accusations and slanders against you, I understand them now." "The child isn't yours? Then whose is it?" I asked, surprised. "It belongs to a wealthy businessman. Meng Qi Zhao was financially supported by him. She became pregnant and, when he abandoned her, she deliberately claimed the child was yours. Vu, you and Grandma have already dealt with her. She will never interfere with you anymore."
Grandma had also instructed him to return the jade bracelet I had broken. It had been repaired, and he was to ensure I returned home. I was still the rightful lady of the Tan family. Frowning, I swiftly took off the jade bracelet and tossed it into his hand. "Tan Tan Diep, love is like this jade bracelet. Once broken, it stays broken. No matter how much you try to mend it, the scar will remain. Tan, please leave my cafe. This place isn't meant for someone of your status." The jade bracelet landed heavily in his palm, like a 1,000-pound weight pressing down on him, making it hard to breathe. His expression was a mixture of hurt and despair. "If the mistakes of the past can't be fixed, then I will start over to win you back. Let's not dwell on the past. Let's focus on the future, all right?" "Tan Tan, you don't have to do that. I've made myself clear. We cannot be together anymore. Nyum Triet and I are getting married soon. Please, don't come to disturb us again." Tan Tan Deep felt as if he had plunged into an icy abyss, his heart splintering into 1,000 pieces. Married? You two are getting married? His voice trembled. He stepped forward and gripped my wrist tightly, as if trying to stop me from leaving. Pain flared through my arm, but I bit it back. Nyantriot's voice was firm, unwavering. Yes, we're getting married soon. Please, don't interfere in our lives anymore. No, I won't allow it. Tanthan Deep's grip tightened as he pulled me closer. Tanthan, you're crazy, I shouted. Yes, I lost you and I went mad. Just give me one chance. I promise it won't happen again. I'll only be Tanthan, dedicated to you, completely, and forever. I struggled, my panic rising with every second. But the harder I fought, the tighter his hold became. Nyantriot stepped forward, placing himself between us. He gently guided me behind him, his eyes blazing with anger. Tanthan, stop. Your interference only brings her pain. Do you understand? She still has nightmares of being hurt, of being left alone in danger. Tanthan Deep froze. His face went pale. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, he muttered, voice barely audible. Words alone couldn't fix what had been broken. If you truly feel regret, then let her go. Nyantriot's voice was steady, resolute. He turned me around, and together we walked away. Tanthan Deep didn't notice how long he had stood frozen in place before finally collecting himself. The next day, when he returned to the cafe, a for sale sign hung on the door. Defeated, Tanthan Deep had no choice but to retreat to the Tan family residence.
Tantan, Tatmo, where's Tatmo? His grandmother looked behind him anxiously. No, grandmother, she's not coming back. It's all because of that woman, Meng Chi Jiao. Your good daughter-in-law has been forced to leave. That woman went completely out of control, even couldn't manage herself properly at home. Grandmother already had someone take her to Mr. Ko's place. It was infuriating. If it weren't for her, why would your good daughter-in-law have left? But while you were there, you also reminded me of something. His grandmother quickly pulled him aside and whispered into Tantan's ear. Tantan, do you think there's a way to make Tatmo, that woman, settle down and stay? Tantan shook his head immediately. Grandmother, we can't do that. Wu never wanted to have children. Before he could finish, his grandmother grew angry. Tantan, then what other choice do we have? If I told you to marry another woman, would you accept it? There's only one way. Let her stay. Take care of her properly. Tatmo has a gentle heart. If we treat her kindly, she won't be able to leave. Tantan said nothing. Seeing his hesitation, his grandmother slipped a small packet and a note into his hand. Tantan, this is Tetmo's address. I had someone search everywhere for her. Don't underestimate it. Once you find her, hold on tight. Could it be that he was so disliked? Even after selling the shop, moving to a new city, she didn't want to see him. And that Lam Nan Triet, he's really good to her? He clenched the packet in his hand. His voice hoarse said to his grandmother, Grandmother, I'm gonna find Wo. That's right, Tantan. I've already arranged a private plane to the county city. Go quickly and bring her back.
Even on the plane, Tantan felt a pang of weakness. He stared at the packet in his hand, still hesitant. He leaned back in his seat, trembling. This time, he told himself, it would be the final goodbye. When the plane landed smoothly, he hesitated for a long moment before dialing the number on the note. Hello? Hello, is anyone there? Tantan gripped the phone tightly, finally managing to speak. I'm in the county city. Please give me one last chance to say goodbye to you. Is that all right? I sat in a high-end Michelin restaurant, staring at the French dishes I used to love the most, but now I had no appetite at all. Tantan watched me carefully and asked softly, "No, don't like it? Or should we go somewhere else?" "No need. Just say what you have to say. After this, we'll completely cut ties and never see each other again." Completely cut ties? Those 4 words hit Tantan like a knife to the heart. His eyes reddened. "No, over 20 years. You really don't need this anymore." "Tantan, there's nothing left to talk about between us. I've already made room for your family of 3. "No, don't say that. That child isn't yours. I've told you, I only acknowledge the child you gave birth to." He looked at me desperately, trying to find any trace of love left in my face. But I stared back coldly, giving my final words. "Tantan, if you have something to say it quickly. I still have things to do." Seeing me like this, Tantan felt even more pain. "Go do what?" "Try on a wedding dress."
What? Don't mess with me. If you're saying this, it's better for me to just give up. Tantan's hand gripped mine tightly, trying to find any weakness. Tantan, how many times have you deceived me? I've lost count. Ever since Mont Chi Jiao, you've been lying to me constantly. Letting me go is also letting yourself go. There's nothing left between us. I will live my life and you will live yours. Can't we just part with dignity? But the last thread of reason in Tantan's mind snapped. "I can't live without you. Please, come back to me." "Tantan, have you ever thought about what I sacrificed when I married you? For you, I gave up everything, wore a mask, and became the obedient, understanding wife. And what about you? Not only did you fail to understand me, but you also brought another woman into our lives and forced me to accept it. You even always talk about your own hardships. What hardships do you even have?" I spoke until my throat was dry and downed the glass of water in one go. "Don't drink that." Tantan stared at me, eyes wide, his hand frozen in midair, as if time had stopped. "What's wrong? Is there something wrong with the water?" "Hurry, get me to the hospital." He lost all thought and rushed me out of the restaurant. "What are you doing?" I tried to push him away, but my body suddenly felt an unusual heat spreading through me. Tantan quickly helped me into the car. Inside, the scent of sandalwood filled the cabin, but now it felt different, almost like it had transformed.